Well, hello there, Dippers, and welcome back to the Fantasy 15 podcast, the official fantasy football podcast of Sauce on the Side. As always, Dippers, I'm your host, Drake, joined by the man, the producer, Leighton Pip Chavantone.
I'm personally guaranteeing that Julio Jones will not get a touchdown pass this Sunday.
Yeah, I think you'd be right. This would be another Sunday.
Very, very bold take.
Yes.
This season, he's due for a touchdown, but not get one this Sunday.
It's unbelievable what Julio's doing, man. I mean, he's on pace for 1,700 yards, maybe a sniff above that now, with the game last week. Still, 0 touchdowns. That would be the second highest mark in NFL history in receiving yards. And if the guy finishes the year without a touchdown, that would be, at this point, I'm rooting for it. That would be the greatest stat in NFL football history.
Yep. But before we move on to the good stuff, I thought this thing about Julio Jones. If he goes for 180 yards and 10, 12 catches, whatever, and no touchdown, there's still more points than the guy gets a touchdown, 120 yards and 4 catches. So,
that's true. Absolutely. I mean,
how am I going to get, I guess?
Dude, if Julio would have gotten a touchdown like every other week this season, which his production says that he should be, he would be maybe the greatest fantasy football option of all time. I mean, you think about the production that he's already having.
Yeah, he'd be better than Todd Gurley is right now.
Yeah, he would be absolutely insane. The numbers on him are just ridiculous. If he was scoring what he should be scoring, as far as just touchdowns, it would be ridiculous. Maybe the greatest fantasy football season in history for a wide receiver. But instead, we're going to get a year where Julio goes for 1,800 yards, 0 touchdowns, and I cannot be more excited about that.
I kind of want to see it happen, to be honest, because that just... Man, I want to see it happen, kind of.
Yeah, I do too. I'm rooting for it. I'm all in on the Julio no touchdown for this season. Dippers, you might notice Lex Glasgow, the meat stud stack man, he is not in studio today. So hopefully he can get his plumbing done, and he will be back, hopefully, next week. So Leighton C., this will be a little different. We're going to probably have a little bit more discussion base than just, rattling off stats. Great, wild men, basically. So Leighton C., producer, you know what to do. Fantasy 15, a Sauce on the Side production. All right, Leighton. So we'll go ahead and start it off our lineup with a quarterback. We'll basically do it the same way we normally do, with just a little bit more discussion. High price quarterback for your Week 7 DFS slate. Where are you going with a high price option?
Looking at quarterback this week, I'm very more to the cheaper guys like Mitchell Trubisky, Mayfield, Bethel, all those guys. But I like Cam Newton. Philadelphia did nothing well last season. They cannot defend the pass. They couldn't guard this last week. And Cam, you already know he can go for 30 points against a good defense. This game should be a shootout. I don't actually should. I think it's going to be a shootout. And I think Cam should have a humongous day. I think maybe 35, maybe even 40 points.
Yeah, I think Cam will have a good week. So basically, my notes for high-priced quarterback, I'm not in on high-priced quarterbacks this week. I am fading away from them. So I started realizing this last week that basically every quarterback's playing well. I went through, so I'm just going to give you some notable guys who have been top tier quarterbacks since the season has begun, week by week, and you tell me if you feel comfortable paying an extra $2,000 for your quarterback. Week 1, your number 1 quarterback was Ryan Fitzpatrick. Week 2, your number 4 quarterback was Blake Bortles. Week 3, your number 4 quarterback and 5 quarterback was Josh Allen, Ryan Tannehill. And then your Week 4, number 1 quarterback, Mitch Trubisky. And then Week 5 was our only week of the chalk. Week 5, you had Rodgers, Brady, Breeze, Luck, Ben. Those were your top 5 options. Pretty chalky. So Week 6, we turned around and had Jameis, our number 1 quarterback, Dak Prescott playing the Jaguars, your number 2. Mitch Trubisky was 5, and Brock Osweiler was number 7. So I don't want to gamble on the high-priced options when the chalk hasn't been panning out for any of the high-priced quarterbacks. I feel like we're more and more getting games into the 30s. Quarterbacks, you have a guy like Brock Osweiler who decided to play on Sunday, and goes out there and is the number 7 quarterback, I am not paying up for quarterback this week. You even hit it off the head. I didn't tell you anything about what I was going to open up with, but I think it's just not the smart move to do. I would rather pay up for a Todd Gurley than, get like a Kenyon Drake or a Jordan Howard, kind of roll the dice there with a high-priced quarterback. I would just pay up for Gurley and then pay down at quarterback.
Yeah, because you're far more likely to have a quarterback score 25 to 30 points than you are to have a running back score 25 with the 20 to 25 points. Like this, the way it is right now is there's so many blowout games, so many shootout games that you find these quarterbacks are putting up huge numbers every week.
Yeah, I agree. So we'll talk a little bit about the cheap options here, since both of us really seem to be onto them. Where are you rolling with, probably for the majority of your lineups?
I have 2 guys. Baker Mayfield, playing Tampa. He's playing Tampa. He's playing Tampa.
He's playing Tampa, guys.
I don't think...
Leighton could go out there and throw for 300 yards.
I don't need to tell you how bad that defense is. They fired the D coordinator. That doesn't make players better.
Yes, you cannot make Chris Conte better.
And then, on the other side, C.J. Beathard. He has at least 18 points in every one of his starts this season. He's playing the Rams defense, which is, very formidable defense. Good defense. Underachieving, but it's still good. But are you going to tell me a game from won't be on his side?
No, absolutely.
You think the 49ers are going to stop the Rams from scoring 40 points this game?
No, he's going to have to air it out. Early and often.
He might have a pick, might have 2, might have 3 picks. But he can easily have 300 passing yards, 60 rushing yards, a couple touchdowns.
Yeah, and the thing that I like about this the most, is that in a game like this, you would expect, the majority of NFL coaches are going to come out there and say, okay, we're going to run the ball, we're going to establish the run, we're going to keep the ball out of the other team's hands. Kyle Shanahan's not that kind of dude. We saw it last week. He just, as soon as the game started, opened up the playbook, and you have... Marquise Goodwin running for 2 touchdowns early and has 100 yards. Like, he is not going to play conservative to try to keep the ball out of Jared Goff and Sean McVay's hands. Like, they are going to air it out. Like, that is what they do.
Yeah, you said, but Kyle Shanahan airs it out. Especially, Brady being kind of injured. I can't... Morset?
Yes, Morset.
Morset, I guess.
Came out of nowhere.
Alf Morris is kind of not on the team right now. They're going to air it out because... Kyle Shanahan wants to win the game.
Absolutely.
He wants to win the game, obviously, and he had to throw it.
Yeah, and they didn't, they did have a really good game on the ground, but that wasn't until they got a lead established. So I think it's just going to be more passing this week because they will never establish that lead turn to the run. One of the guys I'm looking at is Derek Anderson. You guys are probably going to be surprised that I said that, but he's Buffalo's best quarterback to go under center. 6,300. That's an extremely cheap option.
Is he starting?
Yes, he is. Derek Anderson. Well, what else are you going to do? Are you going to put Nathan Peterman back out there?
I'm putting him back out there.
Well, they said that if they put Nathan Peterman back out there, they were going to lose the locker room. Like, the veteran players were like, they finally put their foot in the ground, which I'm happy people are doing, and said, you're not starting Nathan Peterman no matter how bad you want to. And it's funny because the coach, even after, Nathan Peterman's terrible losses, continually goes up there, well, I saw some good stuff and I saw some bad stuff. What good did you see? But I think this opens up a route for Zay Jones to have a mediocre game. I'm not saying he's going to blow the doors off, but if you look at Derek Anderson, he's the best quarterback they've had all season. So he's not the guy I'm going to be running out there. I like 2 guys better than him. Both are a little bit more expensive. I really like Mitch Trubisky again. The last time I said that, he threw for 6 touchdowns and over 300 yards. Mitch Trubisky's finally got a hold of the offense. You look at his last 2 games, he's actually thrown the fewest amount of passes on the season in his last 2. But he's averaging 330 pass yards and 50 rushing yards. So he is been phenomenal, and this offense doesn't rely on him to throw the ball a ton in order for him to put up yards and points. They kind of, with the Andy Reid, it's kind of system where everybody looks great because they're open in space. New England coming in, giving up the second most pass touchdowns per game on the slate, and have given up 350 pass yards in half the games this season, including 1 to Blake Bortles. This offense is much more well-designed than the Jaguars' offense, and I think Mitch Trubisky's a better quarterback than Blake at this point. The other quarterback, Leighton hit it, Baker Mayfield, it's obvious, 7,100, and, you're looking at this Buccaneers defense, like Leighton hit on it, he told you they're bad. They have given up 330 pass yards in every single game this season. Lock Baker in for 300 yards, lock him in for 2 touchdowns, and usually whenever I say lock him in, they get at least that, and if he gets that min, that's 20 points. 20 points from a 7,100 quarterback, we will take that all day. So I think we're going to be probably playing a little bit of chalk here, latency, but where do you like it running back?
So before you know this, especially over the past 3-4 weeks I've been doing is just cash. Not playing any big tournaments. They started playing cash, won most of the past couple of weeks. But in cash games, this is how I gotta do it this week. I'm playing these 2 guys in 80% of my lineups. The first guy, Todd Gurley. And when I say 80% on Todd Gurley, I meant 100%.
Yes.
If Todd Gurley gets hurt, I'm taking an L on the week. I'm playing.
So will 90% of the others.
I'm playing with fire here. Here are his point totals so far this season. 22, 30, 22, 23, 31, 35.
That's insane.
He's automatic. He's $10,200, but I don't even care. Because how many times do I sat there watching football games, and the second game start, and we're winning several $100, and Todd Gurley keeps busting off runs, touchdown, and we start losing money. Every week. Not this week. If I lose, it's because Todd Gurley plays bad, not because he plays good.
Yeah, and, off the sample size of the season, there's a 100% chance that he will play good. Todd's the obvious chalk. I got down to a little further down on the list. I'm going to give you a couple people that are in the 63, 6,200 range. Kenyon Drake or Frank Gore will pop. That is an obvious statement. You're looking at a Detroit defense that's given up 6 yards per carry, which is absolutely ridiculous. 6 yards per carry to opposing running backs. One of these will pop. I watched the game last week. Gore had 15 carries, but he was gassed. I thought it was going to be like a Kimbo versus Dada situation. They were almost having to cart him off the field to just get him back in and out of plays. He was absolutely gassed. They're going to increase the running game even more this week. You have the Wizard of Oz back there. Osweiler's back out there starting again. So they're going to be heavy reliant on the run game. I'm going more Kenyon Drake. He did have 6 targets last week. He had 13 carries. I expect him to have that one big play that you are just have become accustomed to seeing the Detroit Lions give up. And I think that Kenyon Drake has that breakaway speed that once he gets past that first line, 6 yards per carry, he's probably not going to get touched for the first 3. He'll be halfway through the secondary by the time anybody even realizes he has the ball. I am going to be all in on Kenyon Drake. And I also really like... I don't think I'm going to play Frank Gore. I think I'm more on Kenyon Drake.
No, I played Frank Gore.
No.
Frank Gore had more carries last week.
I know.
I was better with him.
But he's old, man. I can't get into that because the Frank Gore thing was very, very fluky. I think that he exhausted everything he had last week. He was absolutely exhausted. I think that this game, the Bears game last week, they had to play a little bit of catch up. And if they would have been leading, I kind of expect them to do to the Lions, if they get up, they can't just turn around and hand the ball off to Frank Gore 20 times in a row. But they can do that with Kenyon Drake. If they get to a point where they're leading, garbage time, whatever, they're susceptible to the touchdown in garbage time, and Kenyon Drake will be the more conditioned guy to withstand that, a second half lead. So I'm big on Kenyon Drake, especially with the fumble last week. He's going to be playing with a little more fire this week, but I'm more on Kenyon Drake and Jordan Howard. I think this is going to be a Jordan Howard game. New England, they're giving up 4.7 yards per carry. You look at the game with the Lions. I think this game's going to be pretty similar. And Kerryon Johnson was able to bust off for 100 yards. I think Jordan Howard's much better. I think the offense is better. So I think that Jordan Howard will actually have a very, very good week. So let's go to some cheap running backs. Leighton, what are you leaning on cheap running backs?
Putting the cheap guys, I was saying my other lock high-five running back was, he had a chance to, Ezekiel Elliott. He's also extremely expensive, but last week the Cowboys figured out how to play football games. And through the past 4 weeks, he's had well over 100 scrimmage yards, and then continue this week. And in cash games, I've determined that you just want 2 safe plays. In my eye, Todd Gurley, Elliott save his plays, especially with how deep wide receiver is.
Yeah, wide receiver is extremely deep. I think paying up for running backs is the goal this week. Yeah. I think that is the goal.
But as far as cheap guys go,
yeah,
we're playing a little bit of Frank Gore. I'm gonna play Nick Chubb now. That college highs out of there. I don't know how much I'll play of him, but I'll have him in there, and I'll have some Cohen. Just because last 2 games he has 7 catches in each game, and like you said earlier, should be a good game for Mitch. And a good game for Mitch, be a good game for Cohen.
Yeah, I think both the Bears running backs are playable this week. I think they're going to. I think that Jordan Howard will have that sneaky touchdown, put him over the edge. And I broke down all the running backs and how teams play against the running back, what percentage of their yards they give up through the air compared to on the ground. And Leighton actually hit on it a little bit with the Browns. So he's leaning on the Nick Chubb. Obviously Carlos Hyde got traded. I'm looking more at Duke Johnson. So Duke Johnson's actually, he's a little more expensive than Chubb. He is $5,100. But Tampa Bay gives up the highest percentage of yards to the running back through the air. So Tampa Bay gave up 333 yards on the ground to running backs, 333 yards through the air to running backs. And I'm going to be more so on the Duke Johnson train this week, just because those splits are kind of eye-opening. 50% of their yards is the highest amount of yards that any team has given up to running backs. I really don't trust Tampa Bay secondary. I think the front seven's really good. I think we're going to see a little bit of Duke Johnson in the slot. With Higgins out last week for the Browns, he actually saw an uptick in targets. So I wouldn't be surprised if we end this game next week and Duke Johnson shows up on the screen with 10 rushes and 10 targets. So I really like that Browns situation. I think that I'm going to try to be on the right side with Duke Johnson, though. So expensive wide receivers. This was a very, very tough week for expensive wide receivers. That's why we're going to pay up for running backs. Where are you going, though, if you have to pay up for a guy?
As I'm going to open the show, I don't like a whole lot of the high-five wide receivers this week. Kind of probably quarterback kid. They are so deep. That being said, I'm going to play Thielen and Diggs. And then, most guys over $10,000. I'm not really playing. I like Golden Tate. He'll go back against Miami. And just because Miami, I'll play Galladay too. But mostly, I'm going to play cheaper guys because, like I said, I'm playing Todd Gurley and Ezekiel Elliott a whole lot.
Yeah, I'm going to try to shy away from the expensive guys. I think the only expensive guy I'm going to probably play is Thielen. Look at this Jets secondary. They've given up the second most receiving yards to wide receivers on this slate. And Thielen, he's just a yard monster. I mean, the Jets over the last 3 weeks have given up 230 receiving yards per game to wide receivers, which is a huge amount of yards just to give up to wide receivers. But those are kind of, I think that's the only high-priced guy I'm going to really go to. And then I'm going to go to a medium-style play with Jarvis Landry. Jarvis Landry, 2 catches for 11 yards last week. But he's had double-digits targets in every single game that Baker Mayfield has played in. I expect a 100-yard day from him. I expect 1 score. He's playing Tampa Bay. You have to get all in on this. I mean, Tampa Bay has been a train wreck. 356 passing yards against them on the season average. And they are giving up 3.2 touchdowns per game, and they have 1 pick on the season. That is a crazy stat. 3.2 touchdowns per game, 1 pick on the entire season. So we'll go ahead and go to cheaper guys. Leighton, what do you like on this wide receiver slate? I feel like we're deep here.
As far as cheap guys go, I got 5 for you. I'll go off to them real quick. All these guys, they get high target shares, and they have pretty good matchups. At the top, Crabtree, 6,600, 9 targets the last 2 weeks, going against the Saints. They have Chester Rogers. Not the best matchup against the Buffalo Bills. But 2 guys to get the ball thrown to him. There's Ebron and Rogers. Got Taylor Gabriel going to Patriot, 5,900. Back-to-back game, 100 yards. Marquise Goodwin, talked to TJ Beathard earlier. Game was going to favor him. Brother's going to throw to somebody. Going to be Kittle or him. And then Willie Snead, $5,400, 9 targets last week, 7 targets before that, and we got a revenge game.
Yeah, I love revenge games. Revenge games are the best. I got to pat myself on the back real quick with the Taylor Gabriel call, dude.
Can't believe you did that again.
He popped. I know 2 weeks ago, or it's been 3 weeks ago because the Bears had the bye week. I said that he was the number one guy in this receiving core. Like, he's the guy that they continually tried to get going. It never really worked. And then the game against the Bucs, we were all over the Gabriel play. He popped. He continued to do so. I love him in this spot against the Patriots. This is the last time you're going to get him under 6,000. So you better play him. Last time you're going to get him under 6,000. Tyreek Hill last week. Okay, so if you're not really familiar with it, Tyreek Hill, Taylor Gabriel's like the poor man version of him in this Bears offense, because both offenses kind of do similar things. I'm not saying Taylor Gabriel is as good as Tyreek Hill, but he's a poor man version. And that's all he has to do this week. I mean, Tyreek last week took New England for 142 yards and 3 scores. So I'm not saying he's going to have 140 yards and 3 scores, but I think Taylor Gabriel will have 100 and a score. I think he's going to keep that hot hand going. But my wide receiver cheap play, this is the guy you should put in every single lineup. If you are a season-long fantasy guy and he's on your waiver wire, you pick him up and you put him in no matter what your team looks like. And that is Jermaine Kearse. Enunwa's out. Terrell Pryor's doubtful. And Jermaine Kearse is coming off of 9 catches on 10 targets last week, and he's 5,000. Jermaine Kearse, you play him everywhere. You play him everywhere. I think that he's going to replicate what he did last week. I really do. I think he'll find the end zone. He's going to get the double-digit target share, and I am all in on Jermaine Kearse this week. So tight ends, Leighton. Big pricing discrepancy. We still have Gronk sitting at the top of the ladder here. Might be the last week for that if he continues to play like he has, but where are we going?
Tight end is really bad. Like,
very bad.
I'm looking at it today, and then I got down to the third or fourth guy before I saw a guy, okay, well, I'll go George Kittle. I might be able to play him a little bit, but then I kept going down, and I'm playing David Njoku all over the place. 5,700, he Baker Mayfield's favorite target, and guess what? He's playing Tampa.
Yes, if you want all in on Tampa.
He's playing Tampa Bay.
You want all in on it. And you know, the funny thing is, the Buccaneers, they've given up 20.5 points per game to opposing tight ends.
Where are your Buccaneers at?
They're on your bucking head. I do love Njoku. I think Njoku's a fine play. I think that Gronk is finally going to get things going right against the Bears, unfortunately. It seems too obvious. Like, every time people jump all over Gronk and they're wanting to kind of write him off, he pops. I mean, have you noticed that every single time?
It's a Patriot thing.
And
it's not Patriots. People start talking about, oh, well, dynasty's over. Barry has 400 yards, like 5 touchdowns.
Yes, and last week this week everybody's been talking about how Josh Gordon, he's looking great. Julian Edelman, like, he's got his receivers back. I think he's going to go back to old reliable, because this is going to be a game it's going to be a tough game. Going into Chicago to play is not going to be an easy task. The Bears haven't lost a game at home all season. The Bears defense is phenomenal. With the little hiccups from last week. And I think that in this situation, I think that the Patriots are going to be playing from behind a little bit, and he's going to go to what he knows. There's not a single guy on this Bears roster that can stop Rob Gronkowski. There's not. The Bears are going to be pinning their ears back. Tom Brady's just going to loft a little duck over their head. Gronk's going to come down with it and then run for 20 yards and throw 3 guys off of him. I am big on Gronk, but I think that if you're not going to go right off the top, I think you're probably right. I mean, David Njoku, I hinted at Higgins being gone last week, got 12 targets. And over the last 3 games, he's had, pretty good numbers as far as a tight end for this season looks. 3 straight games of 50 yards or more. And he did find the end zone last week. I expect him to get another game of 10-plus targets. I think that the Buccaneers' defense is so bad that you can start any guy that's going to be on the field for 80% of the snaps, and that leads you right to David Njoku. So I do love that play. Defenses, we don't get Nathan Peterman, but where are we going to go?
I'm going to the Jaguars. They had back-to-back shit weeks, and you tell me that they aren't pissed off right now?
Oh, they have to be.
You tell me they have to take off Deshaun Watson's head. Tear his head, take off. I don't know who that is right now. Lamar Miller, Alfred Blue, head gone. Hopkins, Snead, Cootie, no one will get Cooties. Head's gone. Jackson defense, Texas might not be a pass on Sunday. This might be a slaughter.
Yeah, I do think, we talk about it all the time. Whenever pro athletes get embarrassed, they bounce back. Yeah. And I think this is going to be a huge bounce back week for the Jaguars. I do like that play. I absolutely love the Rams at 5,000. Since Garoppolo went out, the 49ers have had 10 turnovers in 3 games, so that's a pretty obvious play. But I'm going to actually go all the way to the third cheapest defense with the Buffalo Bills. I do not understand how they're priced at $3,400. Over the last 4 games, they played Houston, Tennessee, Green Bay, Minnesota. Pretty good quarterbacks on that list. And they've scored 12 points per game over those last 4. They've held opponents to 13 points per game, which is pretty ridiculous to think about with, Green Bay, Minnesota, and Houston, high-powered offenses. And they're coming in as the number 3 ranked pass defense. They're only giving up 212 yards per game through the air, and Indy's throwing over 48 times per game. So they're going to be playing right into Buffalo's strengths. Luck's had 5 interceptions over the last 2 games. I expect the Bills to play keep away with him. Derek Anderson's not going to be the turnover machine that we're used to with Nathan Peterman. They're going to slow the game down, keep the ball out of Luck's hands, and I think you can pencil this in. 2 turnovers for the Buffalo defense this week. I am all on the Buffalo Bills. They say matchups make fights. I think this is one of those scenarios, so I really do like the Bills here. So we'll talk about some big money flops. I think we're going to be all over the place with this. I think there's a lot of guys that we think that are going to flop this week. Pretty bad matchups for the high-priced guys, but wait and see who you think is going to flop.
So we'll start off with the entire New Orleans Saints team. Playing Baltimore. Baltimore, if one of the best defenses yards-wide in the NFL. Michael Thomas, Alvin Kamara, Mark Ingram, Drew Brees.
There's a lot to love there.
Yeah, lots of love. Not playing any of those guys.
I am all off of them.
They're going to flop. I also don't love fucking like Vic does. I don't love Chris McCaffrey this week because Philadelphia, they can't stop the pass. They can't stop the run. Don't love Zach Ertz this week. I don't love Hilton this week. Though a lot of guys have for the money I do not like. Even because T.Y. Hilton could easily have 12 points. But I'm not paying $1,700 for 12 points.
Yeah, I agree. I think I actually agree with you with the whole Saints roster. I'm going to probably shy away from it. Sony Michel, been getting things right. I think a lot of people are going to be all over him. The Bears haven't given up a rushing touchdown to a running back all season. And James White, the Bears last week got killed to short passes on the outside, not so much to the running back. The Bears have only given up 1 total touchdown to running backs this week. I think I'm going to shy away from James White and Sony Michel. You hit it on the head. Michael Thomas, he's second highest price wide receiver. I'm all off of that. I'm all off of DeAndre Hopkins. He's gonna get it doesn't matter what corner is gonna be on him. They're gonna be playing like their hair's on fire. I'm gonna be off of that. As far as the tight end position, the tight end's tough because I do think Gronk will pop. I don't love Ertz and I don't love Ebron. I think that if you're not playing Gronk, you shouldn't be playing anybody that is above David Njoku.
Yeah.
I think that's just going to be a pretty good standard for us this week. And other than that, I just don't love a lot of high-priced options. I just don't know how much more we can say this.
It's the first week that, for wide receivers, I'm looking at it. I'm looking at guys above 7,000. I'm just like, I can pass on you, pass on you, pass on you, pass on you, pass on all of them.
Yeah.
I don't feel
I made a lineup earlier. With just making a lineup, I had 800 left, and that was my initial lineup. I made the lineup first. You know how you usually do a prelim thing, and you're like, okay.
And then you look stuff up, and you do expect 3 hours on one, then anything up that one lineup.
And then you have to shave down some money just to get the last guy. I had 800 left.
I'm making one. I actually just fixed one a few minutes ago, putting Jermaine Curse, because kind of missed me to him. I have $700 left. I'm just going to sit with it. Because I want to play. Because right now I have Galladay in there and look at Golden Tate. But I know I'm going to have so many Golden Tate shows already. I don't want him.
Yeah, I think that this is the first week of the season that I'm probably going to leave $700-800 on the bench in some lineups because I'm not going to reach. I'm not going to fall victim to what FanDuel says is good. So I'm just going to rely on my gut, rely on everything that I know about fantasy football, and just go with the guys that I think they're going to have the best weeks. So we don't necessarily have the meat stud stack of the week. So Leighton, what would be your ideal stack for this week?
My stack this week would be, together we talked about a whole lot here, it would be Beathard and Goodwin, or Baker and Njoku. I have a ton, and the value in those guys. I think what Goodwin and Beathard, that's combined at $1,200, $200, and then Baker and Njoku is what, $12,800. So insane value there, and those two guys can pop off for combined, 45, 50 points. That's huge.
Yeah, that's going to be huge. That's going to give you the ability to get Todd Gurley into your lineup. I'm actually going to go with Mitch Trubisky, Taylor Gabriel. I've said it time and time again. I think Taylor Gabriel is the most important piece to that Bears offense. And then I'm going to go with Baker Mayfield, and I'm actually going to go to Jarvis Landry. I just picture whenever with the Browns losing the way that they did last week, I just went right back to Hard Knocks in my brain and thought Jarvis Landry just screaming at everybody, and he's going to sit Baker Mayfield down and be like, man, if we want to win football games, you put the ball in my hands. So, guys, we'll go ahead and give you the official sauce on the side meat stud lineup of the week. And I'm going right off the top. I'm going Mitch Trubisky. I'm back on it. I think that he's going to pop, and he is very, very good price for you. I think this might be the last week that you're going to be able to get Mitch at this price. Second on the list, Todd Gurley. Obvious. I don't have to tell you anything about it. Then I'm going to go with Duke Johnson Jr. just because he's well priced, and you got to fit Todd Gurley and Adam Thielen in there, and I think that Duke Johnson is going to end the day with 10 targets, 10 carries. Then I'm going back with Jarvis Landry. So if you guys are keeping score right now, you know that I already have 2 Browns wide receivers or pass catchers. So obviously I'm all big on Baker, but I'm just putting Mitch in this lineup because I think Mitch will get the rush yards to kind of even things out. Then I'm going Adam Thielen at wide receiver. Jermaine Kearse, I think he's a pretty obvious play. I think he's the play of the week. Rob Gronkowski, Taylor Gabriel. Then I'm bringing things back with the Buffalo defense. I think the Buffalo defense is going to be very, very underrated this week. So Leighton, a little bit of stuff happened this week. Obviously, Carlos Hyde got traded. Are you all in on Nick Chubb? And do you? I think that he will be the primary running back for the team. But do you think that him and Duke Johnson will both be fantasy viable for the remainder of the season?
If I answer this question real quick, all your seasonal players out there, pro tip. If you get an update about a player, before you text your friends about it, go get him.
Yes, you did that to me earlier today.
Today, I was in the midst of texting Drake and in a group chat about this. I said, wait, no. I need to get him first. So I went and got him real quick and sent the text. But I like Duke Johnson more today. In 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, I feel like Nick Chubb will become maybe even the 3-down back at some point in time of the season. Duke Johnson will come back to just strictly late game pass catcher. Yeah, obvious pass catcher.
Yeah, I do. I think I agree with your assessment there. I am all in on Nick Chubb for the remainder of the season, but this week I think Duke Johnson is very, very viable. So we had Cooper Kupp go out this past week. Are there any guys, there's probably been a lot of people hanging their hat on Cooper Kupp to put up big points for him. Any fantasy wide receivers that you think people should target on the waiver wire?
Yeah, one guy definitely need to go add when we talk about this podcast is Taylor Gabriel. He's still available in 38% of ESPN leagues. He can actually roster in basically every league. Tyler Lockett's available in 25% of the league. He had a touchdown 2 or 3 straight games.
I don't see how Tyler Lockett's available in any leagues.
25%.
That's crazy.
It's nuts. And then already Willie Snead, second on the team in targets, available in 7% of leagues.
That's crazy.
Wide receiver is so deep, it's crazy.
Yeah, wide receiver is very deep. I think that's where we're heading to with the new age NFL. I think Jermaine Kearse. I said it once. I think Jermaine Kearse would be. I think he's going to be a lateral transition from Cooper Kupp this week. I think he's a safe play. A lot of people are big on Josh Reynolds being the number 3 wide receiver for the Rams. I don't think that I'm going to fall victim of that. I think that you said it best with Taylor Gabriel, Tyler Lockett, and then even bringing in Jermaine Kearse. I think Jermaine Kearse is kind of my top waiver wire guy for this week, because I think once they get him in there with Sam Darnold, that we saw it last week, he was phenomenal. I think he's going to keep things rolling, and he will eventually be that team's most reliable target at wide receiver.
And full close show out, one more guy, Justin Rogers. 10 more targets every week so far, available in 85% of leagues.
That is unbelievable. So anything else before we're going to wrap this thing up? Actually, we did have one fan question.
Yeah, fan question. It came from friend of the show, Brian Riker.
It's actually B-Right, the hot take detective, wrote in with a question, actually a really good question. He asked pick two, half-point PPR, LaShawn McCoy, Adrian Peterson, Matt Breida, and Jordan Howard. Which two do you like the most?
Well, I feel like another big question because one, matchup, and two, kind of injuries. If I'm going to go with Jordan Howard and Sean McCoy, can you talk about earlier in the show how this could be a Jordan Howard game? I don't love Jordan Howard this week. I like him more than Brady Pearson, both have injury concerns, and this new Morset guy in San Francisco is going to take away all Brady's carries, I guess. Good Thompson is back for Washington. And Buffalo, there's Sean McCoy every week. He's a threat to go off every single week, and get a Colts defense actually possible for once.
Yeah, I'm big on LaShawn McCoy this week. I think that if you have LaShawn McCoy, this is the week that you plug him in there, and then you could possibly trade him. If I have Matt Breida on my lineup, the guy is going to end on the IR. I hate to say that about anybody, but every single game I look up, Matt Breida is getting pulled off the field. They're talking about how he's questionable return. He's back in there. I think that he's probably the guy that's probably most likely to get injured at some point. I would trade him. I would trade Matt Breida if I had him. I'm looking at a guy who's had 12 or more fantasy points in all but 2 games this season. I think that he had a couple games where he popped, but I think that ultimately whenever it comes playoff time for your fantasy team, he's probably not going to be on your roster. I'm going in on Jordan Howard. I think the Bears are going to try to keep the ball out of Tom Brady's hands. The Patriots are giving up 4.7 yards per carry. Jordan Howard is a much better than average running back. I think it's going to be a Howard week. I think he's going to find the end zone. I would go with McCoy and Howard, but ultimately it wouldn't surprise me if Breida did outscore Howard. But I think that the injury risk is so high with him that I cannot trust him, if that makes any sense. Yeah. And I don't think they're going to be in a line to where they can run the ball as much as what they did last week. I mean, they torched Green Bay on the ground, but a majority of that came once they got a touchdown lead and they were trying to just, shorten the game and keep the ball out of Rodgers' hands. I don't think they're going to find a happy medium there to get the run game going, so that's why I would go more with Howard and McCoy. Anything else before we wrap this show up?
I say every week. But listen to the show not once, maybe 2 or 3 times. Take notes on it. Make a line of listen to the show.
We had a ton of information in this one.
Yeah, it's a much longer show than you usually are. But we gave you a lot of information, a lot of numbers this week. So make sure you go back and listen to it all. Make sure you don't miss anything.
And on that note, for Drake, for Leighton, Dippers, as always, stay saucy.